Hi, everybody. Welcome. So nice to have you all here. This is our celebration of Hanukkah, from darkness to light. We are going to have what Jessica Jacobs called a high of poets reading for us tonight. It's just really wonderful to have everybody here. It's been a pretty rough couple of months, and one of the things that I look forward to was coming into Hanukkah and the rituals of it. It's one of the holidays that I celebrated every year, no matter what. As a kid, I had a kind of fractured Jewish upbringing, so Hanukkah was the one that stuck, and I felt most close to, and I wanted to share that with everybody. And it's been wonderful to see everybody sort of gravitating to that. One of the weird things that we have to deal with as Jews in Hanukkah is that we don't have an awesome Hanukkah special. I know Hallmark has been coming out with some really weird rom-coms. They have mixed results on those, but I I wanted something. It's we have good stories. We're good storytellers. Why don't we have a good Hanukkah special? There's so many great claymation and cartoon Christmas specials, but there's nothing really great for Hanukkah. So I wrote a poem that I'm going to share with you called "Why Can't We Have a Good Hanukkah Special?" And it's after Danez Smith's pretty amazing poem "Dinosaurs in the Hood," which pitches a movie. And so this is my pitch for a Hanukkah special. I want a claymation, stop motion, grainy screened Hanukkah special called The Golem in the Old Country. Herschel and the Hanukkah goblins meets the abominable snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, except redemption is harder to come by. There's a scene where Herschel of Ostropol creates a golem to protect the menorah as he travels on foot. There are no trains in this story, absolutely no trains. Herschel is sorting out his bad dreams, battling phantom goblins from over each mountainside, pale bodies crawling out of ditches. Will the jar of pickles keep working? He keeps a stone in his pocket instead of a hard-boiled egg. Don't let Spielberg direct this. In his version, Herschel is a small boy, befriended by the golem, slowly humanizing him, the truth glowing supernaturally in Hebrew letters on its forehead. The boy wants a father, a mother, or both. No. Herschel will not be played by Al Pacino. He will not break the fourth wall. His suffering is real. I want scenes where the golem protects the menorah and slowly loses parts of himself. I want a scene that shows Jewish people happy. Not just dancing in a cutscene or playing music, but simply eating a good meal or out of pride for their child sleeping soundly. I want this to be happiness, not joy. There is no relief in this movie. Don't let this be a vehicle for Daniel Craig with a J.J. Abrams lens flare. Don't let non-Jewish people march in goose step while Meryl Streep mutters complaints dressed up as a rabbi. I want Mel Brooks to have a cameo as a Zeta. Let him do whatever he wants. I want the villagers to find Herschel davening in the cold. But don't let this be a Coen Brothers moment. This moment is serious and the prayer is accurate and given without exposition. I want the villagers to bring him home and a Bubba to wrap him in one of her shawls before making him soup, muttering Yiddish as the children continue to look up to this wandering Schlemiel as a genuine hero. Then Herschel sees his golem, and the golem is a mirror of him. They embrace, and the golem melts away into claymation snowdrifts. Herschel of Ostropol smirks and lights the Shamash candle as the goblins recoil. Thank you, everybody. So our first reader tonight is Marina Blitshteyn. Take it away, Marina.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Hope the connection holds up. It's such a joy to be here for like a moment of light in so much darkness. And I was recently reminded that, like, I'm doing Yiddish on Duolingo, and I was reminded that the Yiddish word for darkness is choshech, which is chaos. And that very much tracks in my life. So that's sort of the energy that I'm bringing into this. Also, shout out to my family back here hiding off camera. So if you hear a baby, that's my baby. I'm reading two quick poems. One I wrote in Yiddish for my grandma in the middle of the night. So I'm just going to read these 4 lines in Yiddish for the first time in my life. Here goes. Ich kann noch nicht verstehen, so Idiot allerdings überlebt. Ich will reden auf Jiddisch mit meinem Kind, nur sie versteht nicht euch. Sie versteht mich nicht euch. It's 4 lines of Yiddish for the first time in my life, first poem in Yiddish. So thank you, Jared, for holding this occasion. I'm going to read one more quickie poem called Yisker, also for my grandmother. At the edge of the sky, you see a world crack open, our world, but populated with the souls already. In the world beyond, ahead of this life, is another life that cracks and parts like the delicate shell of an egg. It splits in your hand, and the sun drops down. All day I work on poems, and in my heart I pray to my grandmother, though I don't dare call her by name. I disturb her so much already. All night struggling to breathe, imagining disaster and sure of it. I call her name with my flesh, taut like a drum. I sing her with these tension headaches. I whisper her name with the resilient flutter of my heart. I wish I could say I didn't need her, but all last night I heard that crack in the heavens, and terrified it'd swallow me, I stiffened my body to this world. I tightened myself into it. It's what I think she would have wanted, but also it's what she used to pray for, every Yisker too, for us, for the living, to harness ourselves to this life, and to love, and to be watched over, and to be loved from beyond this world, and to plead to God on our behalf, eyes closed, loudly, in grief but strength. That's how I remember.
Thank you so much, Marina. Our next reader is Moriah Cohen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to be in the company of great poems and great poets. So I have 2 poems for tonight. And the first one I wrote a while ago. It's been a long time since I've been in Israel, but I've been thinking about it for obvious reasons. So my first poem is called Favorite Memory. Lawrence and I sneak out our first night in Jerusalem. Sabbath, and we steal into the city. Random turns down dead roads. Stone full and drunk, we sweat, listen to figures oozy thin in fatigue's hawk guttural chatter, the antiquated sound, a garble of burning sticks. At an outdoor bar, we drink until we sing the only song in Hebrew we remember, a child song. They laugh at its simplicity, but sing with us, mishpacha, mishpacha, family, family. All right. And my second one is called Fibonacci. And just to preface it, a Fibonacci sequence is a sequence in which each number is the sum of the 2 preceding numbers. And when graphed, a Fibonacci sequence predicts the placement of petals in a flower, as well as many other kind of natural patterns. And often it seems so planned that people have interpreted it as proof that there's a creator. So this is called Fibonacci. Not for beauty, nature crackles into symmetry, the austere offices of a snowflake begetting their own offices, the door I unfold that becomes a haphazard talon groping for sea. You can erode the spruce of your mind from the cliffside, but expect lateral roots to cling to a river terrace. Branches flex towards sunlight, rhyme happens, I lift a hickory shad's iridescent scale from kitchen tile 2 weeks after I've cleaned, grilled the fish, and the scale wavers like a peacock's eye. All I know about beauty burns down my cheek, heel over cherry blossom. Show me the sunflower or snail shell that does not instruct you to build upon yourself. I'll peek. Helplessly, we are given the crest of a wave, the pendulum that sees two sides infinitely. Tell me again about your doubt, reined and bucking, how like electrons we only see clearly where we are by crashing into something else. Some days it is all I can do to stop falling over myself at the efficiency of the world. Not salmon nor fluke, but the symbol of a fish gutted horizontally without mind for bones or bowels, a lamb sacrificed every generation, maple sucre born of the cut branch. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Moriah. Our next reader is Julia Kolchinsky Dasbach.
Hi, everybody. What an incredible gathering. I'm just verklempt, to say the least. I've got a short poem and then a longer one. I felt like I had to start with this short one that I wrote last year. I'm originally from Ukraine, and I wrote this on the second night of Hanukkah. And just yesterday, I got these earrings in the mail from Ukraine, from an artist in Lviv, so it felt very fitting. And the largest menorah in all of Europe is lit up in Kyiv. So this was written last year. So multiply the number of days, I say, into 2. On the second night of Hanukkah, the miracle is Ukraine. On fire for 298 days, and still she is standing. The streets are dim, but snow floats like summer fireflies. In Odessa, I hear the people gather to watch a man-sized menorah ignite the public dark. War won't stop celebration. The land we were forbidden to light candles, they burn under rocket fire. The Jews, still Jews, but now Ukrainian. They can be Jewish beyond the skin and nose. They glow in a dark where everyone's afraid the sky will fall, and grateful when another morning comes. And then this next one is called The Past Doesn't Rise Like Smoke. I don't envy even a second of your life, my mother says. Not a single second. Babushka agrees. Pities me, the 2 unmanageable kids, the disabled husband. It's so hard for you, she says, recalling how her face burned when she was left on the top bunk of the train evacuating her family from Kyiv. The city not yet surrounded, but certain to fall. War more than memory. War the way she names her life, missing without a trace. Her father stayed back, died, and after him, she named her daughter, Svet, light. He has to lie at Babin Yar. Where else, she asks, watching the third night candle smoke. I do not say black earth is made of all our dead. I do not say I'm tired of counting them. I say I will keep trying to find his name. I say our people are made of miracle and half believe it when I ask my father about his dead. He doesn't know their names, just that they never left Odessa. The Shoichet neighbor survived, he recalls, severed chicken heads the godly way, and lit Hanukkah candles in their courtyard. He remembers smoke rising against December, gray on black, until there was no trace of flame. But the past doesn't rise like smoke. There is nowhere for it to go, missing. The past is every fried potato and charred wick. My son's nail singed, singing over the candles, the wrong words of a Hebrew blessing we were never taught. The past rises like swifts, perhaps, who stay aerial for months, digging for earth in the clouds, abandoning the sky only to make more birds who will rise and rise in swarms from narrow chimneys, who will refuse to smoke, who will return only once having left their names carved in unsuspecting air.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Julia. Our next reader is David Ebenbach.
You're sure we don't want to take like 2 or 3 hours and just take that in? That was gorgeous. Okay, I'll forge ahead anyway. I'm going to read a short poem and then a micro poem. So this is my real house, though it's a virtual background of my house, because we love Hanukkah, and so I'm going to lean into joy. We get very excessive this time of year, and just all about the joy. So this poem is called Hanukkah. It's from my book, Some Unimaginable Animal, and Hanukkah. This year we spangle the place, the door wrapped like something we're giving away, the whole living room wrapped, coffee table a jumble of wind-up toys and candy dishes, the seam of the wall into ceiling a braid of lights, illuminating plastic chunks of holiday kitsch. The bookshelves, the rug, everything is plastic now, is sequins, is glitter, stars and dreidels, dreidels and stars, everything held up with tape. Meanwhile, the gifts are underfoot in every direction. Ensure we make it dark, light switch by light switch, unplug the string of bulbs, let the candles make their quiet points. But then we plug the strings back in and tap the uncooperative set until it works. So that's our Hanukkah around here. And Pamela and I were having a dialogue in the chat about how people are always stereotyping Jews in movies as being super into food. This book of mine does nothing to dispel that myth. It's super obsessed with food the way that I personally am. So this poem is called The Ineffable. Maybe we should just stick to food, or anyway, the body. There's not a lot more out there. Sometimes I think the world stops at my teeth, and then I eat it. And the rest of the time is grand illusion. Walk up the steps, ascend, that's your feet, and take whatever honey you can hold in one hand. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Our next reader is Sarah Etlinger.
Okay, I'm just pulling them up. I'm gonna do another Hanukkah poem and then a new one that I haven't ever read out loud before. So I'll start with Hanukkah Dinosaur, and Jared makes a cameo, so stay tuned. It's called Hanukkah Dinosaur. Judaism is trending again, my friend Jared tells me, so I wonder if I should buy Dinah, the inflatable Hanukkah dinosaur, who is bright green with a blue t-shirt, cartoon menorah blazing on the front, and a big blue dreidel lying on its side. He wears a white yarmulke, which you can only see from the back. Everything is lit from the bottom. Imagine, I respond, you too can have a Hanukkah dinosaur in your front window or yard. I want him the way adults want things, to remind themselves they were once children. I do not buy him. Lately, people are asking me if I've noticed how anti-Semitism is getting worse, or if I think people aren't afraid of anything anymore. Bob asked me quietly and is very concerned. Last week, I told him, do not read any of the tweets or the headline in the New York Times calling a blatant attack on Jews reported anti-Semitism. instead of what it actually was, actual anti-Semitism. Do not, I said, think harder about the Jewish space lasers or the LA Bridge protesters or Adidas. Another friend texts me about Kanye West and says he's a fucking asshole looking for more power. And I say, yeah, but we took down our mezuzah this week for the first time ever. She is silent for several minutes before she tells me about the football game. She doesn't know what to do or say about any of this. They all want something different from me, and when someone asks what they can do, I want to tell them to buy this dinosaur so I can rig him up on my small, unruly yard for everyone to see as they pass by on their way to elsewhere, as they whiz past warm, glowing plastic faces of the tiny one Jesus and Mary and Joseph, dingy lambs weary at the end of the shepherd's crook, the molded shepherd's face hidden by his modest plastic cloak, the dinosaur bright and garishly green, proud and smiling instead of somber, a wholly joyful amalgam. Two ancient entities older than all this grass and pavement and even this darkening sky, its hollow core full of air and light quietly humming. Okay. This last one is called Windows and Doors, and I'm really trying to write about joy. So I wrote it this summer. So here we have Windows and Doors. I am driving somewhere in mid-Michigan, and my husband is reading, and for now, my son is asleep. And the light that everywhere surrounds everything reminds me of all the summers I lived in my young body. The brightness and greenery filling my nostrils and skin, numinous, unrelenting. And now I think I am finally interested in the body, my body, and what is happening to it. It is not the same body leaning onto the stairs in my tiny third-floor attic apartment, but it is the same body that somehow knew it would be the last time. The same body feeling what it was to lose something, that turned back to my quiet bedroom, brightly lit, while cars hurtled through the nighttime streets. The same body who held my young son when he learned to wave, his arm reaching straight out like the wind chimes I'm passing now, not knowing the difference between hello and goodbye. The same body that sometimes experiences joy, although I do not want to write about joy, which is to say that I do not want to write only about love. And if I'm really honest, when I say I used to be in love, I meant I was open. And now I realize to be open to something, you have to close something else. If my body is a door, then my heart is a window opening to the world. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up is Helene Fisher.
I hope I can do this without crying. You are all just moving me. So there you have it. Thank you for this. The timing of this is perfect this evening. Thank you, Jared. And it's wonderful to be here and in the company of these incredible poets. I'm going to read two poems. This is a brief history of my relationship to boxes. I sit filling boxes at my kitchen table during war, puzzling crossword clues with columns and rows arranged like plots in a cemetery, and think about the woman with a navis, a mark in the shape of a black heart on the white of her left eye, who told me that by the late 1930s in her small town in Austria, her family saw it coming. And so her mother put her in a box and shipped her like freight to another country. The best way to solve crossword puzzles is to look at other clues for words with letters that share their boxes, though some boxes stay empty even when filled. This next poem, I wanted to share something with some joy. And so I actually wrote this very recently. It's called Dedication for Hanukkah. Dedication, number one. to the light in every house that allows us to see each other and who we are. Number 2, to the messengers who take too long to travel, which is how we know oil can burn inexplicably. Number 3, to my disappointments and fears, which light the flaws and hate in people, which teaches me to speak up against those who extinguish others. Number 4, to my mother, who in the last decade of her life started wearing a mezuzah around her neck, though she was not religious, who said she wanted the world to know she was a Jew. Number 5, to my father, who said that anyone, anywhere should pray any way they wish to whatever or whomever they wish to pray to. Number 6, to the temple that lived inside my father. Number 7, to my parents who gave me a menorah when I moved into my first apartment, though they never taught me any prayers. Number 8, to prayer. Number 9, to the shamash, the helper candle that lights the other 8, and all those who help seek light, seek peace.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aline. Our next reader is Jen Fliss.
Hi, I am not a poet, you brilliant wordsmiths. I'm just a simple prose writer. So I'm going to read a little flash piece that was originally in Longleaf Review, and then it was later now in my short story collection. Okay. I am here. My grandmother is dead. I like it when my gums bleed, when I spit peppermint and a string of fire red trails in the sink, when I bruise a yellow-gray blossom flowers beneath my skin. The blood is so close and yet hidden. I pluck and I pop and I squeeze to try to get everything out. What are you doing? My husband asks. I stare into the mirror, tweezer in hand. I'm plucking errant hairs, but are they errant, placed there by God or by Mother Nature? I shouldn't even be looking in the mirror. We're sitting Shiva. My grandmother was 11 when liberated from Auschwitz. When I was 8, my parents were killed in a car accident. I went to live with my Savta. When she plucked lice from my head at 10, she said the parasites had been the only thing in the camp that let her know she was alive. Arbeit macht frei, she would say to me when she insisted I do homework. Later, I learned she co-opted the iron saying over the gates of her death camp. Work makes you free. Nothing makes you free. She had gone first to Israel and then to Brooklyn. Human relations were nothing like the give and take of a parasitic relationship, she said. She and my grandfather divorced before it was common, left him behind in Ra'anana. Just tweezing, I tell my husband. There's nothing left to tweeze. He takes the utensil from my hand, brushes his thumb over the bare and tender space above my eyes. We get into bed and I feel a hair above my right eye. It's sturdy, upright, and thick. I want to get out of bed and pull it out. It feels so alien there, alone. Tomorrow's the funeral. It's only been 24 hours. In Jewish tradition, it all happens so quickly. My husband turns to me, says, stay. It's not long before his snores fill the air, his arms slung over my chest. I stir, he grumbles and holds me tighter. I cannot think of anything else. The hair, the foreign object, my hair, her hair, the curls, the shaving, the lice, the sores, the moment a man tells you you're free, but can you believe him? Is this a trick? And who will watch me? I'm only a child and I have no one but the parasites on my body. What will happen when I clean them away? I fall asleep. The next morning, we say the mourner's Kaddish, a prayer I know by heart. I see my grandmother in a picture frame, scowling as she did, but with light in her eyes, and I think if she can, so can I. The night of my parents' funeral, she told me that the most important thing you can tell people, dead or alive, is that you are here, on this earth, to live what they could not or what they will not. Hineni, she said, and made me say it out loud. Hineni, I tell the me in the mirror, and I leave the single hair above my eyes where it grows. Thank you. Thank you, Jared. Love you.
Well, you may not be a poet, but that was amazing. You shouldn't, what I mean to say is that you should not lessen yourself because you're not a poet. Our next writer is Elisheva Fox.
it feels really unbelievably unfair to have to follow that. So just for the record, I have two pieces. I'm kind of working on a book of Psalms. So this is Psalm for Unnodding. We watch the men in black and white swarm the gray bricked building. I tell you, it's called a kollel, a place where they study Talmud and Torah, but we can't join them. Not because I am a woman, not because you aren't, but because we are not men. You read my face like scripture. You laugh and remind me that I taught you Aleph Bet, and the first letter is silent, and in silence every possible sound sings. Nothing is precluded. And isn't that how we want to live our lives anyway? And then we've got, this is called a Psalm for Feinberg. If the world needs to be repaired, like the rabbi said, and I think we can all agree that yes, the world is fucking broken, and yes, someone should fix it, then my question is, why does everyone hate us? And by us, I mean us, you and me, psalmists screaming at heaven. But I also mean us, the queers and the dykes and the butches and the trans folks. Don't they know how good we are with our hands, with tools, with taking something shattered and making it glitter again? Thank y'all. I'm gonna have to, I think, go down and eat latkes in a second.
Thank you so much. And I believe Joanna said that there were going to be virtual latkes. So she is our next reader, Joanna Fuhrman.
I don't have any virtual latkes, sadly. And yeah, my poem's about Santa, not Hanukkah, but you know. All right. It's not really. Well, it's called, all right, I'll just start. I'll read my poem. Kiss Me, Santa. On a drive away from Miami, the city my mom and her family moved to in the 40s, I spot a cumulus tableau, a long, thin cloud that looks exactly like Santa Claus on a sled. Even his reindeer are in cloud form, mushing ahead. And so from the rental car window, I snap a cell picture of it. And at that moment, I can hear my now dead mom cackling at my excitement. Not very Jewish, she laughs at me. Not very Jewish, I keep hearing. Mom never liked going to synagogue or studying Torah or Talmud, but she enjoyed laughing when she heard of other Jewish families who had Christmas trees and whose kids believed in Santa. Like she'd joke about Jews with tattoos, even though she loved eating buttered lobster. Our people, she'd say. We don't do that, our people. My father was the one who would try to find our family a synagogue, somewhere that would be comfortable for us non-Hebrew speaking quasi-atheist Jews. He was the one who dragged us to the Zen Buddhist house for Rosh Hashanah, or the Havurah in Albuquerque, where a white-robed rabbi chanted in Aramaic with a Navajo drum. Still, my father would have loved for us to have a Christmas tree, like he had in his own childhood home, like all the other Jewish families he grew up with had in what was then called Midwood, but now has other fancier names like Kensington or Fisk Terrace. Secretly, I think Mom might have loved Santa too. What's not to love about round bellies, long white beards, and endless plates of homemade cookies? Who doesn't love the laughter that follows one's own dumb jokes? That laughter itself is very Jewish, isn't it? If Santa had visited us, I bet Mom would have given him pieces of her famous overstuffed raisin walnut apricot jam rugala, called mock strudel, in the early 60s cookbook. And I'm certain that she would have been awake when Santa arrived, because 3 a.m., that was her favorite time to be alive, her time away from me and Dad and everyone who wanted her to listen to them and have her do stuff. When she was alone at 3 a.m. in the amber-stained reading glass lit half dark in her wood-paneled den in our Bronx split level, would Mom have poured Santa a glass of Dr. Brown's Diet cherry soda Together would they have relished the snap of a thick, sour dill. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Our next reader is Jared Harél.
Hey, everybody. Really a pleasure to be with you all. I'm going to read two poems. I'm going to read one from my new collection, Let Our Bodies Change the Subject, which came out this fall. And then I might read a new one. So this is not a seasonally correct poem, but it is a poem about trying to love the world, even when, maybe especially when, the world is a difficult place to love. It's called Spring Crush. It's early spring on our walk home from school when my daughter tells me she's in love with the world. Last week it was a boy with small, serious eyes and a glorious bowl cut, but it seems she's moved on, falling for the world as she twirls in its sunlight and our shadows douse the concrete below. Should I aim to dissuade her? Must I explain this world will leave her for dust, leave her with the taste of rust on her tongue? But she smiles and slips fingers through mine, a sweetness not yet teased from her grip. Even those teens who pack the sidewalk with trendy sneakers and covert insecurities stop slapboxing, pause to let us pass. Nearly home, we spot blossoms burning indigo and pink. A whirl of two squirrels scrape up a tree. Better to take things slowly, I'd say, but the girl splits off and sprints the final block. Sunstruck, smitten, a whip of perfect limbs, stretched to broken sky. Thank you. And I'll read a poem. I've been reading a lot from my book these last few months, so I'm going to read a newer poem. This is also the end of the teaching semester for quite a few of us, and I just submit grades today. And this might be the closest thing I have to a Hanukkah poem. It's called All This Gold, and it begins with a fortune cookie fortune, which is, do not confuse what is valuable with what is sought after. Do not confuse public with pubic, like my comp student did in her otherwise fine essay, which argued for more security cameras in pubic spaces. And do not confuse allergic with addicted, like I did soon after my throat swelled shut. Addicted to penicillin, I wrote, then displayed in the window of my chain wallet till a baffled grocery clerk clued me in. I am not above confusing pity for affection, affection for love. I've mixed impulse and free will like gin and tonics, mistaken my tolerance for what others can't bear. Oops, I heard somewhere, should be the anthem of our age. Oops, like a chorus of misdirected rage over the pinging bass line of an errant text. Bless us, or don't. But rest assured there is value in our hapless seeking, in every trap door and sharp detour, and in the moment before the moment the solarium goes boom, a bridge gives way, and the ground far below looks like a painting my son made and called All This Gold, and then a little bit of blue. Thanks.
Thanks, Jared. Our next reader is Phil Goldstein.
Goldstein.
So sorry.
It's okay. I get Goldstein when I talk to people in the South. So I wrote this poem a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, Hanukkah's always been a really deeply symbolic holiday for me, and this was just what came to mind. So this is called What Remains Irrepressible. What is the use of light if not to illuminate? And what is illumination if not the broadening of the soul? It does not take 1,000 menorahs to see the beauty inherent in the face of a smiling child, smiling in Jerusalem or New York or Khan Yunis. It takes a single candle to know that those who have truly suffered grasp bone deep how the knife sinks under the sternum, how manufactured hunger and thirst eat away at muscle, sinew, and soul until there is nothing left to bind you to another with a different nose and jaw, but the same hopes and the same blooming blood. We who have suffered know that stare, the gaze of someone looking right through you, seeing not a human, but only the space a body is taking up. We know where that leads. If we are to be Aul al-Kitabe, people of the book, we must know that light is not something that can be bottled. It is not water or wine or even air. Light is uncontrollable, does not recognize borders. What is the use of light if not to illuminate us all? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next reader is Josette Akresh-Gonzales.
Hi, thanks everybody for coming. I actually looked through all my poems and didn't find any Hanukkah related poems, but I'm working on a long book length project where each section is the name of one of the Planet Earth episodes. And I have some wintry poems. So, and it's also, the poem is kind of like a spiritual autobiography, so it's related. So I'm going to read two pretty short ones. So the first one is in the Ice Worlds section. The larch trees are moving north with the tree line. There is no God. Great boreal forests circle our planet in an almost unbroken ring. No God put the plants in a greenhouse so they'd grow faster and higher. There is no God. The larch had followed their own algorithm for thousands of years. Spruce, jack pine, lichen, every tree its own noise. Pines are social creatures. You live forever. It's quite easy to see the tree line moving. It's fair to say we know enough. There is no God. There are 3 stations in Siberia monitoring the release of methane. Ice beats south in winter, north in summer, and the boreal exhales with far more trees than all the rainforests put together. Their roots pump water inland, overturning the entire Arctic Ocean. There is no God. The great ring of evergreen licks clean the atmosphere and turns out water for us, we hope, forever. A white grand piano. A woman in a winter hat lifts the fallboard, dusts the grit off the keys, and begins to play Chopin on the white grand piano. A window shattered, a wall torn and strewn on the floor around the woman in her winter jacket, playing Chopin on the dirty piano. To think this woman survived the shock, to think she had rushed home from the local market after hearing her 16-year-old daughter survived the missile dropped onto their street on Saturday, March 5th, onto their home in Bielsk, Kiev Oblast, central Ukraine. The woman in her winter hat lifts the fallboard, dusts the grit off the keys, and begins to play fast and light, her apartment half in ruins, doors and glass strewn across the floor, and even the remains of a fire that raged from her 23-year-old son's room as she plays Chopin's Etude Opus No. 5, Opus 25, No. 1, consisting entirely of rapid arpeggios and harmonic modulations, almost a study, but not quite a poem. The woman in her knit hat, her left hand playing the supportive bass line, a stuffed cow in the corner, the accompaniment built of broken chords or polyrhythms from time to time, and melody quick like laughter, dusting the grit off the keys after a fire and a bomb, surrounds the inner voices of both hands, figures consisting of repeated figures, of arpeggiated chords in A-flat major, the debris strewn on the floor to pray the sextuples fast enough and to be able to move the hand across intervals as large as a 13th in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josette. Our next reader is Mónica Gomery.
Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here with all of your incredible words. I also have not yet written a Hanukkah poem in my life, but I do have a poem. I'm going to read two, and the first one is a poem that I think is born out of how hard it can feel, how hard and necessary and discordant it can feel to pray in a world with so much suffering in it as ours. It ends with a sort of reworked line from a Rilke poem, and throughout it has verses from Shacharit, from morning liturgy in it, and it opens with a line from the Babylonian Talmud. So that's kind of what's stitched together here. This is occupational hazards, and it opens with, "One is forbidden to pray in a room without windows." Brachot 31a. I wake and the world is shaking again. Birds slam buoyant voices, bruised gold morning light. Blessed are you, provident, who gives the birds of dawn discernment to tell day from night. In Gaza, buildings brought down as if built from sand. In Minneapolis, a murdered year, publicly funded on camera phones. Blessed are you, fashioner of worlds, who stretches forth the earth upon the waters. Crow-eyed, muzzle bright, I pour coffee down the dog's ear. Morning, angel battered, wings jab, wheels spin beneath them. Let God's name be made holy in the world. North and south and west of me, ferns thrash in forests, unspool chemical economies. Thank you for returning my soul in abundant generosity. Soul like planet, monster, toothache, conjure. Thank you, wind, romances, trash bins, for returning sour smells, war wounds, gauze soaked in brine and rain of bullets in Colorado. Soul leans away from photographs of children. Birds mangle in great, generous faith. Morning, I reach for any smallness that hummingbirds me, nerve cells, wings. You said, live out loud, and die, you said lightly, and over again you said, see. Thanks. Read one more. This is called Because It Is Elul, and it doesn't take place during winter, but in the fall. This is about the month before the high holidays, and the teaching, this idea that the king is in the field, that the divine walks close among us as we reflect on ourselves and our lives, preparing for renewal. Because it is Elul. I drove 2 long silent hours to get here, cut through an August green as lust, and as my body falls at last into the sea, tumulting, crashing all about me, the skinny man a few yards off shouts, "Careful," crooks his wire finger toward the breakers, warning, "Stingrays." Water bats, winged frisbees, fan through salted chaos, their shapes slice the cresting waves. Shadows, moving behind stained glass, dusky diamonds fluent in the ebb and swag of ocean, roaring ocean, salivating sea. I stagger out from the cliff of backward blue, my breath floats before me like a bell. All afternoon they come, a moving clot, dark ribbon dragging through the water. Waterborne pilots parading their shark skin and cartilage vessels, tucking and soaring and migrating somewhere. I sit and watch, spotlit in the hot mind of August, lucky, lucky victim of this grandeur. I came to drop my hands into the sand, to name each regret, each evidence of all that's cracked in me like sun-starched seaweed before the burling waves. The king is in the dunes, my hands are gnashed into the grains. This time each year we throw things into the water, breadcrumbs carrying our failures, our bright faults. But watching those swarthy ghost fish, each one big as a window reflecting the sun off the side of my car, I don't want to throw anything in. I want to be whole, I say aloud to the sea. I want you to be whole. I want the nightmare of our separation to end. The wave crests, the travelers revealed again and again. This is the story God tells in a language I no longer speak.
Thank you so much. Our next reader is Maud Lavin.
Hi, hi everybody. Thanks, Jared. I am so very, very glad to be here. I have just one poem to read. And as I mentioned before, I live in Chicago. I'm born and raised in Canton, Ohio, where I still have friends and family and go back all the time and have for years and years and years. So this is from one of those transitions. It's called Fireflies, Ohio. Zigzagging south through farm hills toward Worcester, old barns, streams, sparse woods, crossroad towns, many churches. I'm not Christian, so those are not for me. The hills are mine, though. My childhood, deep summer green set in. It is so pretty, like a secret. The sun is easing down. The latest detour angles us west. We make a drama of this, loving the hills, holding out on dinner till Worcester, hanging on to each green turn and each barn. We top a hill. The valley opens. The skylight dims. The fields are lush with fireflies. Field after field. The fields keep opening, and they are full of multitudes. We slow. This is wonder. The valley is generous and stretching, more beautiful than the Grand Canyon under moonlight, swimming in layers and reaches of fireflies. Dainu. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next reader is Mordecai Martin.
Hi, everyone. This has been wonderful. Thank you, Jared, for organizing this. I am also, like Jen, technically not a poet. I work in prose. I'm going to read the first and last segment of an essay called Chazer, the Eater's Life, to continue the food theme. Bertha ate and served the same meal for the last decades of her life. She saw no need to vary. Sometimes I wonder if after a certain point in life, its disappointments, variety itself seems like a trick to keep us living a life that has lost its flavor. Or perhaps the opposite was true. Bertha delighted in each mouthful so much she could revisit them endlessly, find depths of comfort and solidity in them. I don't know. I never tasted her cooking. She died before I was born. Bertha was my father's grandmother. So it's odd that it was my mother, her granddaughter-in-law, who passed the menu down to me. My mother and my father began dating in 1971 when they met as teenagers at Camp Wilmette. So by the time Bertha's husband, my great-grandpa Julius, passed in 1979, Mom was enough part of the family that she agreed to spend her summer internship at Queen Children's Psychiatric Hospital living with the newly widowed Bertha. My mother's memory is not perfect. She remembers vividly skipping some meals habitually, more than a little horrified at Bertha's unrelenting regularity, not to mention that generation's uniform approach to the brownness of vegetables. There was also a schedule on which tea bags were saved and reused on which my mother kept an eye, keen to avoid a third day of the same tea bag. It is with some interpolation and imagining and near guesses that I have reconstructed Bertha's menu. It runs something like this: Sunday, stuffed cabbage; Monday, tuna fish; Tuesday, veal meatball; Wednesday, blintzes; Thursday, hamburger; Shabbos, roast chicken; Saturday, bananas and sour cream. So there it is, the sustenance of my ancestry, real Jewish food, pedigreed right down to the Jew. Bertha Korn, née Heffernan, who as a teenager smuggled tobacco between Hungary and Russian Ukraine, came to this country on the ship the New Rochelle, married Julius Korn, worked in his restaurants until they failed, raised Herbie and Pearl, and fed herself, her husband, her children, and her grandchildren stuffed cabbage, tuna fish, veal meatballs, blintzes, hamburgers, roast chicken, and bananas and sour cream. Then she died. Her memory for a blessing. So who's hungry? And then the final section is called Afikomen. And the whole essay is about these meals that I ate, that others eat, that I'm hunting for. What do all these meals add up to? If I am what I eat, who am I? Chazer, my father would call me when I'd steal or ask boldly for a bite of his food. Chazer, Hebrew for pig, not just the epitome and biblical example of an unkosher animal, but as in English, Yiddish for a glutton, one who cares more about food than is decent. I have a friend who believes in pork. His dad's a secular Jew, and his mother an heir to an Italian sausage fortune. We met as teenagers in the comfortable confines of Westchester County and spent our early 20s wandering the city together, reclaiming the spaces of our immigrant forebears. I was getting more and more religious and trying to explain to my staunchly atheist friend what I believed. One afternoon, while passing a little Italy importer of choice meats, handing out samples, I was mid-sentence of doxology when my friend grabbed a sample of prosciutto, gestured to it, and said, "Yeah, but this is what I was raised with. This is what I believe in, pork," and downed the forbidden meat. Do I believe in pork now that I'm not kosher? Am I a chazer? Is food more than food to me? Is it my way of life? I return in my mind to my great-grandfather Julius's restaurant. I still haven't found the one we talk about. The one where the gangsters ate my great-grandfather's cucumber salad and flirted with my grandmother. The birth of my child interrupted my research. My baby, he's so hungry. I spend my days feeding him. I don't have time for writing the IRS and seeing where Julius filed taxes from or whatever other lead I could follow. I'm dead ending. Family meal won't happen. My family is too important. Salt and vinegar, onion and herring and wine sauce, bananas and sour cream. Meals of yesteryear haunt me, but I put them away from me. Cheeseburger, oysters with mignonette, ham. My sins follow me. I wallow in them. For now, my conscience is quiet. What's left? I have only questions. Every Passover, we ask 4 questions, but my uncle always added a 5th. When do we eat? Set the table. Sit down. Who's hungry? When do we eat? Let's eat. Thanks, everybody.
Love it. Thank you, Mordecai. Our next reader is Richard Jeffrey Newman.
Jared, thank you so much for inviting me to this. It's really wonderful to be here with all of you. Chag Sameach. I'm going to read 2 poems. The first one is, it is the first part of a much longer poem that does not yet have a title. Here's the thing. I don't know where to start. But if I choose this morning, sitting here with my notebook open, jasmine tea cooling, Layla curled purring on the carpet at my feet, the house quiet except for the rain's polyrhythmic drumming against the dining room window, our black cast iron menorah adorned with the hardened gay pride rainbow wax that drift from last night's full complement of candles. Then I need, too, to go back to when I was a boy and my little brother was still alive, standing with my grandmother in the same apartment number as this one when she lived in the building next door. The view from her dining room window, the identical slice of skyline I'm looking at now as she guided the shamash in my hand to give each candle its flame. We sang the brachas together, her voice thinning and every time, every year, almost breaking at Shehachiyanu, then strong and defiant for Mao's Tzur, a change I drew strength from, though I did not understand it. Last night, before these clouds cloaked the city in gray and let fall what they were holding, facing the lit buildings across the East River, as if Manhattan itself were a menorah of sorts, I felt her watching me. I knew what she wanted, but it's been decades since I last blessed the Hanukkah lights, having lost the faith I once held to, that even if God does not hear the prayers people offer, even if there is no God, invoking his name brings good nonetheless into the world. Thank you. And the second poem I'm going to read is the last poem of my new book, which is called Teshuvah, which came out last month. And I'm going to read it because it strikes me, it's about rededication of sorts, which is kind of central to the traditional story of Hanukkah, right? It's about rededication. And it's the last poem of the book. It's also the last poem of a sequence called This Sentence is a Metaphor for Bridge. Imagine Gehenna unfenced, yourself the unburned center of all that burning, every prayer you've ever said undone line by line until the empty page is all you have. Enter there the path in you that is only a path. Gather its shadows into a dance, a movement that ends with love, that keeps on moving till love becomes the rhythm and you the fire, and the dance the life you've chosen to make your loving possible. You thought you had to be the clench you've held where none but you could feel it. Give yourself instead to all that rises. Fill that cloudless sky with laughter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Our next reader is Hila Ratzabi.
Hi, everybody. Wow, this has been an amazing evening, and I'm just so honored to read with all of you. Hi, Donna. Hi, Robin. I've been changed, when you're last and far along in the lineup, keep changing your mind about everything. So, all right, I'll go with my third choice. I had so many different choices. Okay. I don't think I've ever written a Hanukkah poem, but I've got light and miracles in some of them. So these fires, we count the stars from within the small frames of our bodies, heads propped against pillows on the terrace, the three of us, 1 + 2, who pass through me with a sudden gasp, bodies broken from my body. Our fingers point to that dome of darkness, speckled with the ash of burning gases, fires of fury or love or what can't be named because the dark holds its secrets tight. the way I hold you. We're here, aren't we? Leashed to the earth, no matter how far we run. I must teach you what I haven't learned myself, to be body bound, to count on your fingers what I know to be infinite, those fires up there, these fires down here. But who will teach us how to dissipate back into light? And one more. Prayer before turning on the news. I sit before the TV screen, remote control in hand. I want it to stay this way, this dark, quiet room without a world in it. This nothing, this sweet nothing. The fire truck toy on the shelf. Look how it saves no one. In this room, there is nothing burning. Dear God, it is possible. You are the one with wings. Shelter us. Let something have been fixed today. The deal among the nations signed. The guns, all of them taken away. A woman believed. A man contrite. A border covered in dust. God, I need to know what happened to those who tried to cross. What happened after the storm, an earthquake, and fire? I can't be everywhere at once, but you can. How can I convince you we are worthy of miracles? How much longer can I delay the inevitable knowing, the daily ritual of witness? At least bear it with me, dear God. Come sit on the couch, put your feet up. I'm making tea. Tell me how this will end. Tell me if there is a chance. Or maybe we can bargain for peace, trade for redemption. Give me something, anything, before I let the messengers into my room. I will not look away. Promise me you won't either. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have one more poem to finish us off. The news has been pretty dark, and the rise of anti-Semitism is something that's troubling. But it's Hanukkah, and I've been trying to find joy, and I wrote this poem yesterday, out of a desire to go back to a time when anti-Semitism meant fighting about Bradley Cooper's fake nose. And this poem is called Bradley Cooper's Nose Wants to Meet for Brunch on Sunday. A small place, the best, he says he knows the owner. Bradley Cooper's nose sits in the back corner with a platter of fish, bagels racked up on a spool. Take some, you'll love it. We start chewing like thought. Finally, Bradley Cooper's nose begins talking. In the beginning, Adam couldn't smell. Yes, the first man, the man who named the animals, did not know their scent. The slick of the cow's hooves in mud, the heat rising from damp hackles, matted fur. He touched them, but he did not know their scent. Here, have the sable. It practically melts in your mouth. No? Fine. So Adam asks how he shall know them if they're not with him. God says, wait, are you going to finish that? Bradley Cooper's nose gestures at our neglected pickles. God, who created Adam with a breath, took another, took the earth and the air back to himself, a teshuvah, right through his nostrils. At this point, loud enough for the whole deli to hear, Bradley Cooper's nose demands attention, will not be misunderstood. We keep our faces down toward our plates. It'll be over eventually. You shall breathe them in, God said, so that they may be a part of you, which just goes to show you the nose knows. Thank you, everybody. This has been wonderful. This has just been a delightful reading. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.